Jai Gurudev and a joyful welcome to Sadhana on S3 with me, Allisha Gayapersad. On this special Nelson Mandela International Day, we have an interesting lineup to keep you entertained. We begin by talking to renowned guru and school principal Kriba Vayapuri about the impact of the legend on his own life. Then take a peek at some tantalizing tastes with our own Radhika Gaundan. Sadhana then explores Mandela's own land with a visit to the Lord in the mountains. And we end our show with a beautiful Kathak dance piece that showcases our own immaculate local talent. One of history's most inspirational figures, Nelson Mandela, once said, "It always seems impossible until it's done." For Hindus in South Africa and across the world, Mandela symbolizes a path guided by dharma, a commitment to righteous action without consideration of personal consequence. In fact, the sacred Ramayana is the embodiment of those ideals, where in many ways the life of Lord Ram mirrors that of Madiba. Grounded in the ideologies of democracy and Hinduism, we are joined today by an academic and guru, Mr. Kriba Vayapuri, as we pay tribute to the life of South Africa's own Nobel Peace Prize winner, Nelson Mandela. Mr. Vayapuri, in many ways, the Hindu scripture, the Ramayana, mirrors Mandela's own life. Would you like to elaborate on that, please?
Remember, we have two. We have divinity on the one hand, and avatar is an aspect of divinity who takes the human form for a specific purpose. Sri Rama's, the Maryada Purushottam, his sole purpose was to re-establish and to protect dharma. And he did this by removing our dharma or destroying, annihilating our dharma. Our dharma is actually unrighteous behavior, conduct that is not becoming of a human being. In other words, it is evil. Our dharma is evil and unrighteousness. And the sole purpose of the Ram avatar was to remove this evil and to re-establish dharma. We can draw a parallel between Sri Rama's divine appearance on this planet as well as Madiba. Remember, one is a mortal and the other we're talking about divinity.
Yes.
Right? Nelson Mandela, his incarceration for 27 years on the island was essentially to re-establish righteousness in this country, which was sadly lacking. So when we look at the Ramayana and we look at Sri Rama, his character, the way he went about, establishing dharma again in this world, one can not help but see a similarity in the way Nelson Mandela conducted his life. Because in both, we actually see Nishkama karma. Nishkama karma is action that is performed, that is selfless. It can almost be described as sacrifice. Here we have a man who sacrificed his entire life.
Yes.
And when you take your actions and you make those actions become selfless, that is the true test of the human spirit.
I must thank you so much for actually explaining this so well to our viewers and to me personally.
That's true, Allisha, because a man who spent 27 years in prison, when he came out, we would have expected to see some kind of bitterness against his oppressors, the people that made his life so miserable. But here we have a man who is actually holding out the olive branch to his oppressors.
A selfless man.
A selfless man indeed. What more can we look for in leadership? And Madiba showed us, and Ram too, when we look at qualities of leadership, effective leadership is not about positional power in the organizational hierarchy. It is about service delivery, where you actually respect everyone in the entire hierarchy. And this is when Madiba, he brought all these qualities of love, compassion, forgiveness, and understanding into his presidency.
Yes, that's
And we
true.
saw that is
As a professional with the background of education, as well as very learned in the Hindu ideals and Hinduism itself, tell me, how have you implemented this in your life as an educator, especially at Beacon Ridge Primary, the school where you retired as a principal?
you know, when I took over the reins of the school, in fact, when I actually was elevated to education management, it was at a time when democracy was being ushered into this country. So I found myself standing at the cutting edge of transformation. And here I was given a school where almost every learner was shackled in the powerlessness of poverty. And an amazing thing happened at that school. I, together with my teachers and the community members, we decided to take Madiba's, one of his beautiful quotes on education. If you can allow me, I beg your indulgence, I can try and remember that quote. Sure. Madiba once said, and I quote, "Education is that great engine for personal development. It is through education that the daughter of a peasant can become a doctor, that the son of a mine worker can become the head of that mine, and it is through education that the child of a farm worker can become the president of a great nation." And Madiba closes that quotation by saying, "It is what we make out of what we have and not what we are given that actually separates one person from the other." And as a collective now, my staff and the community of Velvidat and myself, we took those last two lines and we transformed that into this philosophy which is called self-help. Because he says, it is what we make out of what we have and not what we are given that separates one person from the other. And we use those last two lines to transform Beacon Ridge into a self-help school. Because remember, education is viewed by many, especially after the reconstruction and development program was effected in this country. Almost every person looked at education as a means to break the cycle of poverty. And they were all striving towards some using education to improve their social standing. It's a powerful tool. I think he says it's a powerful weapon which we can use to change the world. You remember that one? Yes. He mentioned that. And we also, at Beacon Ridge, because we found ourselves in a dilemma with regards to funding. So there were days when we felt very, very forlorn, despondent or depressed. But then we remembered the other quotation about Mandela where he says, "If you can think it, you can achieve it. It always seems impossible until it is done." And we took that and we turned that school around.
I think many people are going to be inspired from this talk. So thank you so much for sitting in conversation with us. From the Sadhana team, we appreciate your time. Vanakkam.
Vanakkam.